Welcome back. This is the Check Down with Fox and Larry, episode 2. I'm your host, Larry.
And I'm your host, Fox.
This episode, we're going to give you a 2021 NFL season preview. We're going to do NFC edition, so we're just going to go through every division, every team in each division in the NFC, give you a preview, what to expect out of each of them this upcoming season. Right before we get into that, if you mind, just take a couple seconds, hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, I hope you enjoy the show. And if you haven't drafted yet, our last episode was all about fantasy football. We gave you our draft strategies, our bust sleepers, our rankings for every position. So if you haven't drafted yet, make sure you check that out before you draft. So let's get started now on episode 2, 2021 NFL preview. We all know how the 2020 season ended. The Tampa Bay Bucks taking down the Chiefs. So let's start off with the NFC South, and let's start off talking with the defending champs, Tampa Bay Bucks. So basically what to expect out of the Bucks this year is pretty much the same thing because they re-signed everyone. Last year, they finished 11-5 in the division, which was good for second behind the Saints. But like I just said, they literally brought everyone back from the championship roster. I think it's only the second time in NFL history that has happened. That's the case going into the season with the same roster that the Super Bowl team won with. But yeah, everyone's back, obviously led by TB12, and he's got his weapons: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown in the slot. They're gonna put up points. They got OJ Howard, Cameron Brate, Gronk. They got weapons all around. Their running backs are stacked. They brought in Giovanni Bernard in the offseason. This is year 2 of last year, which was year 1 with Tom Brady. And last year they kind of started off slow. It took them pretty much until like the last 5-6 weeks to really start clicking. And they even said themselves that they don't feel like they played their best football last year. So they feel like their best is still yet to come, and which would be pretty scary for the NFL if that's the case. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Bucks this year. Just looking over their depth chart, I mean, their offensive line is stacked with Donovan Smith, left tackle, and then the rookie last year, Tristan Wirfs, he's in year 2 this year, and Ali Marpet and Alex Kappa and Ryan Jensen in the middle. They're loaded on offense. Defense, Ndamukong Suh they brought back. Jason Pierre-Paul had a good bounce-back season. He's an NFL vet. Shaq Barrett they re-signed. Antonio Winfield, who was hurt most of last year, he was a rookie that they drafted. He's going to be healthy to start this season, so that's going to be a big addition in the secondary. But Carlton Davis, Jamal Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting, all good corners for them. And they're going to be a good team all around again. Reigning champs. I expect them to compete for the conference title and get back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. The Bucks probably the clear favorites to be the champs again this year. They're the exact same team as last year, pretty much. Their strength of schedule actually benefits them greatly. They have the 4th easiest schedule in the league with an opponent win percentage of 4.65. So, I mean, they got an easy way of getting back there. When we do our predictions, we'll obviously talk about who we're thinking will win the division, but I think it's pretty clear that this team's going to be an absolute threat this year. And, no significant rookies to really talk about with this team. It's pretty much all vets, and you need vets to win Super Bowls. So definitely could see him doing it again.
Yeah, basically what they did in the draft this year, they drafted guys for depth. They took Joe Tyrone, Kyle Trask early. Tyrone probably will see the field. He's an edge rusher. He'll see the field in certain situations. Todd Bowles will put him in certain packages, their defensive coordinator. And then Kyle Trask, obviously quarterback out of Florida, he hopefully won't see the field this year. He'll be learning behind the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, and see how he develops whenever Brady wants to, hang up the cleats. Maybe Trask will take over in Tampa. But, yeah, their draft was basically just for depth since they brought everyone back. So, yep, like you said, they have, what did you say, the 4th easiest schedule this year?
4th easiest, yep.
Yeah, and we're next episode we're going to be doing the AFC, but the episode after that we're going to go through our predictions and everything. But yeah, their expectations are Super Bowl again, so let's see what happens.
Yep.
All right, let's go. Now we'll go to the New Orleans Saints. Last season they finished 12-4, division champs. Their season ended thanks to the Bucks in the divisional round after beating Chicago in the wild card round. Their biggest news is there's no more Drew Brees at quarterback. First time since 2006, they'll have a different quarterback. Jameis Winston is named the starting quarterback. And, before we get into going over the rest of their depth chart, let's just talk about Winston here. He was a guy they brought in last year after the Bucks released him, and he sat all year. He played a little bit, it didn't, and then not much, but he sat behind Drew Brees, learned from Sean Payton for a full year, came back this season, looked pretty good in preseason, looked really good in preseason, won the starting job over Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, isn't your prototypical quarterback. This guy is like a Swiss Army knife. He plays all over the field. Didn't beat out Winston. Before the preseason started, I honestly thought that Taysom Hill was going to be the Saints starting quarterback. By week 2, I was like, you know what? Winston's the starting quarterback. I think Taysom Hill is best going to be served in that role that he's been used as with Sean Payton and Drew Brees. And I think he fits in fine in that role. I know he probably wants to win that starting job, but he's just a difference maker in so many other areas than just quarterback. So I think the Saints, they made the right decision with Winston, and I think they're going to get the most out of both of these quarterbacks with Winston starting.
Yeah, and it's gonna fall pretty much on that defense and Winston's shoulders to get this team to the playoffs again. I think they could do it. It's not a great division. Like obviously you have the Bucks, but under them, I mean the Falcons and the Panthers, they could beat them. And when I look at their strength of schedule, they're the 10th easiest, so they're 4-8-3, and that probably attributes to the division. It's not the strongest division, and the thing with Winston. I think he went. Not only did he play good in the preseason, having a training camp, but he has that starting experience a little more than Taysom Hill does. So I think that contributes. And like you said, he's had a year to learn the offense, and I think it's a good move. I understand it. I know you like Taysom Hill a lot, but I think Winston's the right move for the Saints.
Yeah, definitely. At first I thought the Hill was going to be the better option just because I didn't really trust Winston, and we didn't see enough of him last year to change my mind until I saw him this preseason. And no matter if he was playing against the 1s, 2s, or 3s, he looked really good. So I'm excited to see what he does. I mean, if you look at their depth chart, they obviously have Alvin Kamara, running back. He's going to be a workhorse. He's going to get the ball a bunch, and he's an elite running back.
Yep.
Receiver, they're weak. Traquan Smith is their number 1 receiver since Michael Thomas is on the IR for at least the first 5 weeks, and nobody really knows what's going on with him because of all his off-the-field issues. But hopefully he can get back on the field for them. They have a good offensive line, really good offensive line to protect Winston. They have a really good defense. They lost Trey Hendrickson, who led them in sacks last year, but they still got Cameron Jordan. They signed Quan Alexander. They have Demario Davis, who's been a beast for them the last few seasons. And Malcolm Jenkins in the – who was that?
Lattimore. You said Lattimore, right?
No, I haven't got to Lattimore yet, but yeah, Lattimore and Malcolm Jenkins in the secondary. Well, I can't say Jenkins today, but yeah, they're in the secondary.
Man Jenkins.
So, old man Jenkins. But they're good. They're going to be good. Unfortunately, they're not going to be playing in New Orleans the first month of the season due to the hurricane. So they're actually opening up in Jacksonville?
Yeah, they're playing Jacksonville, Green Bay.
Yeah, so that hurts them not being able to play in the dome, but. Yeah, expectations for them is, they're going to compete, and, their expectations is a wild card spot.
Yeah, the biggest thing that's hurting them is not having Michael Thomas. The whole thing that he's dealing with and his injury, and just he's had a lot of those cryptic tweets that he had about, playing this year. He's had, I don't know, Michael Thomas seems to have like a bit of an attitude issue. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. What do you think about him?
I think he's an elite wide receiver, and I just would love to see him on the field. We don't know what goes on off the scenes. He says that the Saints were disrespecting him and whatever they were doing. We don't know exactly what happens inside the locker room or inside the organization with players and front office members and coaches. But I just hope to see him on the field because that guy's an elite receiver and he'll help this team a lot. So, All right, well that's it for the Saints. Let's go to the Carolina Panthers. They were 5-11 last season. That was good for 3rd place in the division. Couple key additions. Sam Darnold, they traded for him from the New York Jets. They gave away 3 draft picks for him. They drafted J.C. Horn in the first round this year, signed Hassan Reddick in free agency for the edge. And, they're a team that was young last year. They started the season with Teddy Bridgewater. Really, they competed in pretty much every week they were competing. So now they bring in Darnold. He's a guy that they have high hopes for. He didn't work out with the Jets, but he always had that potential. So they're going to see if he can unlock it in Carolina. They have a young guru offensive coordinator in Joe Brady from LSU. This is going to be his second year now with the Panthers. Young head coach Matt Rule from Baylor. So, they're still figuring out what works in the NFL, and, they're going through their learning process as coaches. They have a pretty solid roster. We can go through the depth chart. Darnold, obviously, they have the best running back in the league, Christian McCaffrey. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, solid weapons for Darnold, weapons that he never really had in New York. The offensive line is solid. It's not a great offensive line, but it's solid. Again, a better offensive line than what he had in New York. So with just a better offensive line and better weapons on the outside, you should see a little bit of an improvement from Darnold this year. If not, that's obviously concerning, but they're not locked up to him long term. So this could be a one-year thing for them, but hopefully that it works out for them and they lock him up for both of them. It would be nice to see Darnold succeed. Being a Jets fan, it just didn't work out in New York. I'm happy with Zach Wilson now, but Darnold had the high hopes, drafted number 3, so we'll see what he does in Carolina. Defense, they have Brian Burns, who, he's a guy that a lot of people don't really know about. He's a guy who can end up leading this league in sacks this year, in my opinion.
He's very good.
Yeah, and then they also have Derek Brown at tackle. He's a huge body. I think he's around 330 pounds, just huge guy up the middle to stop the run. Shaq Thompson is a solid linebacker, and then their secondary is young, but, Jeremy Chin, he's a playmaker. I know you like Jeremy Chin a lot, and they drafted Jason Horn in the first round.
They could put Jeremy Chin wherever, and he's going to thrive. I mean, he's a really good utility player. He plays anywhere. And you didn't mention Hassan Reddick. That was another signing they had that was big.
Yeah, no, I said Hassan Reddick.
Oh, okay. I thought you didn't.
Don't worry, bro. I got him.
He's important. He's a sack guy.
Yep.
So I like this team. I'm telling you, I really do. It's going to be a good week 1 against the Jets because I think the Carolina is sort of like the Jets. It's a young team with a lot of young pieces.
Yeah. Save your predictions for a couple episodes.
It could be solid. This is definitely, and you even mentioned Terrace Marshall Jr. He's another study.
He's not. I don't know if he's a stud. He could be good.
Could be. There's all potential with these rookies. You never know.
Yeah. So what's your expectations? You like them? What's their expectations? You think they can make a playoff?
I don't think so. I think there's too much competition in the NFC because the AFC is obviously the harder conference to get into the playoffs, but the NFC is going to improve a lot from last year this year. The only thing that's going to benefit them is, again, they're in a weaker division with, they can win those games against the Falcons and maybe sneak one from the Saints, but they have the 6th easiest schedule. So again, it's not impossible. They can make a push, but I don't think so. So we'll see. But we'll say that for the predictions. We almost spoil it.
Yeah, no, my expectations for them is pretty much going to be the same as last year. I think they're going to compete in a lot of games, but I just think they don't have all the pieces, especially because they have to play the Bucs twice a year. They have to play the Saints twice a year. So it's a tough division, but they do have an easy schedule. What'd you say, 6th easiest schedule?
6th easiest, yep.
Based on last year, so that could change as the season progresses. But, my expectations for them is to be around like the same as last year, maybe a little bit better. But their biggest thing is just seeing what they have in Sam Darnold. It's a huge year for him, his 4th year in the NFL, first with the Panthers. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's new life for him. It's a big chance for him, and he has to take advantage of it.
And what I seen from him in the preseason, he looked really good. Really good.
He did look really good, but it's just preseason, so you can't go completely off of it. Obviously, he still looks like he has, his game there, so he just has to execute.
He always had the potential, and he's had a bunch of highlights in his first 3 years in the NFL, but he's had a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers, way too many turnovers. In prime time against the Patriots, he said he saw a ghost. That's a big red flag. So we'll see if he's seeing ghosts. I'm hoping he's seeing ghosts week 1, but that's it. Let's go to the Falcons now. The Falcons finished 4-12. That was good for last place in the division. They fired head coach Dan Quinn. They brought in new head coach Arthur Smith from Tennessee. They made a big trade, getting rid of Julio Jones. They drafted Kyle Pitts, 5th overall, and excuse me. And they're a team that is definitely rebuilding, but they're in a weird spot because they still have, pretty decent talent on the roster. And they have a veteran towards the end of his career, and Matt Ryan, who's still, producing at a pretty good level. What are your expectations for the Falcons?
Yeah, I mean, it's a team again where the biggest question marks are on defense. This defense, was bottom in the league last year. They didn't get too much better during the offseason. They added a couple guys, but I just think the expectations of the Falcons is it's just kind of low for me. I know they got Kyle Pitts. They got probably the number one guy coming out of the draft in terms of talent. But losing Julio is going to definitely take an effect. Calvin Ridley should obviously thrive off of it, but losing Julio is huge. You lose one of the best receivers, to ever play the game, honestly. You add Mike Davis at the running back, he should help. I know you don't like him as a workhorse back because he never has been, but I think Mike Davis is going to be a solid addition at running back. But yeah, I mean, there's not much on this team. Very, very, a lot of question marks. That's all I got to say. A lot of question marks. We don't know.
Yeah, well, just touching up on Mike Davis, the guy's 28 years old. He's never been a 3-down back in the NFL. Last year, when he took over for McCaffrey for long term, like it was only a few weeks, but he was started off really strong, and then a couple weeks into being the 3-down back, he slowed down. He put in a lot of work in the offseason to get his legs into shape. We saw the picture of his quads earlier in preseason. The guy has huge quads up there with Saquon.
He's Saquon and him should have a competition.
But yeah, I just don't think he's gonna last the full season. I think he's a fine running back, but I just don't think he's a 3-down back. And at this age, 28, just starting as a 3-down back, it's
probably, for everyone out there, he's on my fantasy team, so that's why I like him. If I drafted him, I like him.
And he's not on mine, and I wasn't drafting him.
Well, we'll see who's right at the end of the year, huh?
Yeah, week 7 when Mike Davis is getting 15 touches instead of 30.
Okay.
All right, let's just look at their depth chart a little bit. It's a weird mix. They have, some vets on the team that have been in the league for a while and are solid. Then they have, a bunch of young guys. Calvin Ridley's their number 1 receiver. That's awesome. He's a great player. He's one of the top 10 receivers in the league, in my opinion. They got Kyle Pitts, like I said, in the first round. He's supposed to be, one of the best tight end prospects of all time. We'll see what he does out of the University of Florida in year 1. Usually year 1 for young tight ends, it doesn't really go well for production-wise. It's usually like a bit of an adjustment period for them. Mm-hmm. But I expect him to be a very elite tight end for years to come for them.
Yeah, they have the 3rd easiest schedule, so they're another team with an easy schedule, and I think that's just the division.
Yeah, it's just the division. Probably, I don't know exactly what other division they're playing in the AFC, but I don't know. Well, yeah. It just seems like that division has the easier schedule this year. Defense, they have some solid players like Grady Jarrett on the end, Deion Jones, linebacker, Dante Fowler, edge, AJ Terrell. They drafted him early last year. I don't think they're going to be a good defense. Arthur Smith coming from Tennessee. He's a guy who's going to want to run the ball a lot on offense. So Mike Davis, I almost call him Mike Workhorse, is going to get the ball a lot in the beginning of the year. Hopefully
that's a good thing.
Yeah, for you, it's a good thing. But hopefully he's can last the whole season. Like you said, I have low expectations for the Falcons. I really don't see them going anywhere. They had 4 wins last year. Even with the whatever easiest schedule they have, 4 wins seems, like a max for them this year. I just, and I feel for Matt Ryan because he's at the end of his career, but he's still pretty good, But
yep,
that's it. That's a wrap on the NFC South. Not going to give you any predictions yet. That's like we said. That's going to come a couple episodes from now.
Yeah, this is just all preview on the NFC. We're just giving you guys background. If you guys didn't know, like the new additions and all that for each team, and just what we think. We'll go, and like I said, I'm going over the strength of schedule. So just giving you guys an overview, and then tomorrow we'll do the AFC.
Yep. So now let's go to the NFC North. We'll start with the Green Bay Packers. Last year, they finished 13-3 in the regular season. That was good to win the division. They ended up losing to Tampa Bay in the conference championship game. Rodgers, the last dance in Green Bay, potentially. As, that was the storyline all offseason into the preseason. Rodgers wasn't showing up, wasn't saying anything. Was he going to host Jeopardy? Was he going to retire? Were they going to trade him? Was he coming back? Ended up that he was coming back, and he's back. So now, since he's back, they have those Super Bowl expectations again because they were 13-3 last year. They were a game away from the Super Bowl. Rodgers won the MVP last year. It's not like even though he's getting older, it's not like he's losing anything. they're pretty much the same team. Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon are their backs. Devontae Adams, Marquez Scantling, and then Alan Lazard. They brought back Randall Cobb for the slot. Great offensive line. Even though Bakhtiari is going to be out for a while, he just got injured a couple of weeks ago, I believe. I think he's going to miss. I think I'm not sure exactly, but maybe we'll find that out and get that back to you. But he's going to miss a chunk of the season this year. Yeah. Their defense is solid. They got the Smith Bros on the edge. Darius and Preston, not related, but they call themselves the Smith Bros. Kenny Clark, the tackle, good secondary with Alexander, one of the best corners in the game. Kevin King, solid corner. Darnell Savage and Adrian Amos in the backfield. They drafted Eric Stokes in the first round to bulk up their secondary. The Packers are the Packers. The Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers still there. This is year 3 for Matt LaFleur. He's had a great first 2 years. Some questionable coaching decisions in the postseason and regular season. He gets questioned a lot, but I think he's a really solid coach overall. And I think, Packers expectations are very high, Super Bowl expectations.
Yep. So their strength of schedule there. They have the 4th hardest schedule, but like you said, my expectations for the Packers, as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, this team's going to be competing for a Super Bowl. The offense has the pieces. You said all the names already. This is a really good offense. They're going to be one of the top in the league every week, putting up points, and defenses are going to have a problem stopping them. Back to the David Bakhtiari, I think he'll miss the first 6 weeks.
Yeah,
so he'll be on the PUP list. And the only thing I worry with the Packers is the defense. Obviously Jair Alexander is an absolute beast, one of the best in the game at corner. But it's not a defense that blows me away. So, but again, they're still going to be a Super Bowl team because of that offense and Aaron Rodgers. It's that simple. There's no other way of putting it. It's really it.
Yeah, not a top defense. I think it's a solid defense.
Yeah, it's a middle of the pack defense.
Yeah. And playing in Lambeau Field gives you that advantage towards the end of the season. So, they always have that. But yep, Super Bowl expectations for Green Bay again. Let's go to Chicago. They finished 8-8 last season. They were knocked out in the wild card game by the Saints. Trubisky's gone. Dalton is their starting quarterback. They brought him in. He was the backup last year for Dallas, but ended up playing most of the season when Dak got injured. They drafted Fields in the first round, had to trade up for him, but they got their future franchise quarterback, hopefully. And, Matt Nagy is pretty much been on the hot seat, I feel like, the last couple seasons. He's still hanging around there in Chicago. I'm surprised that they announced that they're going into the season with Andy Dalton starting at quarterback. I would have thought that Justin Fields looked pretty good. Like, he looked good enough that, if you're on the hot seat, you want a guy out there who you think is going to give you the best shot to win.
Yeah, especially since, Andy Dalton with Dallas didn't do much last year. They were still a bad team,
No.
It's not like Andy Dalton's going to blow anybody away. Even when he was with Cincinnati, he didn't win a playoff game. So Andy Dalton's always been an average quarterback. He's getting older. I would definitely have gone with Fields, especially in the hot seat.
Exactly, but like you said, Andy Dalton never blew anyone away. It's not that he was a bad quarterback for the Cowboys last year. He's just,
he's average.
He's average, and when you want a difference maker on the field at quarterback, then Justin Fields is that difference maker. He has the potential to be that. We're gonna have to wait and see. Nagy already said he's gonna start the season with the scout team, taking reps with the scout team, but I don't think it'll be long before we see him starting. Honestly, I think either way, if they get off to a good start or bad start, we saw with the Dolphins last year. I think they were 3-0 when they went to 2 or something like that. And, even if the Bears start 3-0, I think they can still make that switch. I don't think it's Dalton's team to lose, to say it's just whenever they feel Fields is ready. But that's their decision. I don't think it'll be long before we see him. But they're not a bad team. They made the playoffs last year. They got off to a good start with Trubisky, went to Foles. That was a disaster. Went back
it still doesn't make sense to me. It still doesn't make sense.
They were they something? They were like 5-0 or something like that. No,
they beat the Bucs. Remember that?
Yeah,
they beat the Bucs.
They got off to a crazy hot start. Whatever it was, 5-0 or whatever, and they switched to Nick Foles. For whatever reason, they switched to Nick Foles. That was a disaster. They went on some crazy losing streak, but they ended up somehow making the wild card at 8-8 in the NFC last year, thanks to Trubisky, because he got them back there. But that Trubisky, I think, was better than what he's perceived to be. He's made the playoffs 2 of his 3 years in the NFL. That's pretty impressive. But he's now he's backing up Josh Allen in Buffalo, so we'll see if he ever gets a QB1 job again. But
There's a
yeah,
place for me.
yeah, yeah, it's a place on the bench holding Josh Allen's
He would never
water.
take Josh Allen's job. There's no shot.
No, but I think he
It's
went there
almost
for.
like it's almost like he's there, almost like how Taysom Hill plays with the Saints. Like he's gonna have like a utility role. Like, what is Trubisky gonna be catching passes? I don't understand it.
You think that's
It's
what
weird.
you think that's what they told him?
Maybe you'd be like, yo, we want you to sit in the slot for some plays. We'll throw you a screen, and then you hit digs on a deep route. That's what he's gonna do. So look
Yeah.
for that play at some point this year.
Yeah. Well, let's look
Um,
at Chicago's offense. They got, Allen Robinson. He's a top receiver in the league. Darnell Mooney, he has a lot of potential. Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham at the tight ends. I like that, duo at tight end. Solid offense.
Jimmy Graham's still around. Crazy.
Still around, dude. Solid offensive line, solid defensive line. Obviously, they got Khalil Mack, Raquan Smith as their, edge and middle linebacker. Good secondary with Eddie Jackson leading that secondary. They're gonna be an above average defense. They used to be, like the elite defense in the NFL, but I don't think they're that anymore. They lost players from, just age or just lost them in free agency, but I don't think they're that elite defense anymore, but I still think they're going to be a good defense. And, if we think Chicago Bears, we think defense first. We're
Yeah,
not really
I was gonna
thinking.
say the exact same thing. The Bears have always had a good defense. They've
Mhm.
always missed that quarterback. I mean, I think there's a stat where like the Bears have not had like a 4,000-yard passer. You believe that? Like I don't think ever. I'm pretty sure I
Really?
read a stat like that. Yeah, they've never
They're
had a
not going to have one
quarterback.
this year. They're not
I
going to have one
know,
this year.
especially if they split. If Fields comes in the middle weeks, they're not gonna have it again.
Yeah.
So it's definitely weird. They have the third hardest schedule at a opponent win percentage of a 550. So they'll have a tough go of it. It's gonna be hard for them to make the playoffs. It's gonna be on the quarterback's shoulders. That's what it's gonna come down to. Because I think
Yeah.
the defense will keep them in games. It's gonna be the quarterback and the offense to get things done.
Yeah, I think that their expectations aren't high. They aren't low expectations, but I don't know. They're gonna have to compete with that schedule. It's gonna be difficult, but I think they have expectations that at their max they can make the wild card. I don't see them making a deep run this season, like into a postseason if they get there, but they should have wild card expectations. They were there last year. But we know how the NFL is. It's new teams in the postseason pretty much every year, so it's hard to get back, especially with change at quarterback. So we'll see what happens. Nagy needs it. Nagy needs to have a good season to keep his job. I'm surprised he's still there.
Yeah, I don't know. If he's not gone at the end of the year and they miss the playoffs, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's go to Minnesota. Talking about the Vikings, they were 7-9 last year. Very disappointing year. They started 0-5 and then had to almost battled back for the wild card, but ended up falling short as Chicago took that last spot in the NFC. There's a lot of off the field issues so far this preseason with the COVID controversies with their quarterbacks. None of their quarterbacks are vaccinated, and Mike Zimmer is a big guy who really wants all his players vaccinated. Kirk Cousins is a very religious guy who just doesn't believe in that stuff, and they got into a lot of arguments off the field. So we don't know if that's going to carry over into the regular season or not, but that's some off the field issues that Minnesota just, I'm sure doesn't want to be dealing with, that they are dealing with in these pandemic times. But, Kirk Cousins is leading the way there. And, they're a team that I think didn't make the playoffs last year because their defense was terrible. I mean, it's the stats show it. Their defense was one of the worst in the leagues, especially with Mike Zimmer as head coach. That's pretty shocking because he's just a really big defensive guy. And they've always had a good defense there in Minnesota since he's been there. Last year, they were terrible. They had a lot of injuries, but they were just so bad. Like, they just couldn't figure it out defensively. Offense, they were good. Obviously, they drafted Justin Jefferson last year, and that turned out to be, one of the steals in the first round. They got him late first round, and he fell short of ruining Rookie of the Year last year to Justin Herbert. But, they have some pieces. If their defense improves, like they're back in the, postseason expectations. Obviously, I think the division, that's, Green Bay's to lose, but Minnesota, I think, would probably be ranked second in the division going into this year, and, playoff expectations.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. I completely agree. I like this team. I think they got a lot of potential. I think their expectations are probably higher than the Bears. This is a team that could sneak into a wild card spot. Their strength of schedule is bad too. They have the 5th hardest, and I looked it up. It's because they're versing the AFC North, so that makes sense. So they're gonna have to play
Yep.
the Ravens. They're gonna have to play the Steelers. They're gonna have to play the Browns. So this is gonna be a battle for the Vikings. They can make a push for the wild card. They just gotta have things come together. Their offense was good last year, and hopefully the defense can get things going. They added a couple guys. They added Dalvin Tomlinson from the Giants. They had a couple guys, so it could happen. They could definitely make a push.
Yeah, they added on defense. They added Dalvin Tomlinson to stuff the run. They added Xavier Woods in the secondary. They added Patrick Peterson. They got him over. He's
That's right. I
he's a
forgot about
vet. He's older. He's not in his prime anymore, but he's still a solid cornerback, and they need him vet. Rashad Breeland and Patrick Peterson at cornerback. That's not the best, but that'll do. I think that'll play.
It'll be their safeties. Woods and Smith are awesome, so they'll be deep in secondary.
Wow, you said an ex-Cowboy's awesome, huh?
I like Woods. I did. That's why we'll get to the Cowboys. Don't worry.
Danielle Hunter, obviously on the edge. He's their best pass rusher. And then offense, their offensive line it's solid. It's more of a run-oriented offensive line. They love running the ball. Dalvin Cook, they're going to give him the ball a ton. He's one of the biggest workhorses in the NFL, but he's also very injury-prone. He's missed at least 2 games in the last 4 years. So Alexander Madison is their backup, and every time that Madison starts for Cook, he does well. So they have a good running back room there. They drafted Kellen Mond this year, quarterback out of A&M, and we don't know if Kirk Cousins will re-sign with Minnesota in the offseason. I don't really know how it's gonna play out. I think it really is all gonna depend on what happens this season, how he performs this season, and how they feel about Kellen Mond going into next season. But I don't expect Kellen Mond to play at all this season. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, but he's proven not to win on the biggest stage. So that's the only thing that really hurts him.
Yep, I agree.
All right. So expectations, wild card at best.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Lions.
Your boy.
My boy, one of my favorite head coaches.
I'm gonna be honest.
Head coach.
I think you'd rather him be your coach than Saleh.
Yeah, let me introduce him first, all right?
Go for it.
New head coach, Dan Campbell. Guy's a maniac. He's a psycho. He wants to rip your legs off and eat your kneecaps. Like, this guy's a nut. And, they were 5-11 last year. They finished in last place. One of the first big moves of the offseason was trading Matt Stafford to the Rams. They got Jared Goff in return and a bunch of draft picks. But, yeah, they brought in Dan Campbell. It's a new era in Detroit. I don't think Jared Goff is going to be the long-term quarterback there. I think they're going to stink this year, really. They really don't have a lot of talent on the roster. They drafted Penei Sewell in the first round this year. He's a good, promising tackle prospect out of Oregon, but, low expectations for, the Lions this year.
Yep, they have a young receiving core. They have, Quintus Cephas. They drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have a couple young guys there. The big guy that I want to point out is Jeff Okudah. He really needs to take that step this year. Last year was not a really good rookie year for him. And
he was drafted so early last year. Yeah. He was looked at as like the can't miss cornerback prospect last year, and he did struggle in year 1 last year.
That's what I'm saying. So they need him to take that step. And yeah, this defense is they're going to struggle, and they got to play the AFC North like everybody else in that NFC North. So it's going to be tough for them. Hopefully they can put a couple wins together. I don't want to see this team do that bad again, just because, the fans have had to deal with it for a long time in Detroit, but not much to know with this team. And the DeAndre Swift too. I mean, he's injured right now. Who knows when DeAndre Swift's going to play? And he's still questionable for week 1. He's probably not going to play. So, they signed Jamal Williams, which was actually a good signing. I think he could start. He could significantly do some work on that offense. But yes, team's it's a young team, and they got a lot of question marks on the defense that need to get figured out.
Yeah, and just going back to the NFC South real quick, as I just got a notification from Bleacher Report, the Falcons have signed your boy Wayne Gallman.
Oh, right. I didn't even know the Niners cut him.
And you know why the Falcons signed Wayne Gallman?
Why? To be
because Mike Davis can't handle a full season workload.
It's fine. No, I'm not worried at all. It's not like Cordero Patterson was going to take any reps from him. So.
Dude, just sign Ed Gallman on the waiver wire real quick. Cuff Davis, and then you're fine.
Yeah, I'm on it.
All right. Yeah, like you said, I actually like their running back room a lot, the Lions. Even though DeAndre Swift might not start the season healthy, I like Jamal Williams. They got him from the Packers. And I like Jamar Jefferson. They drafted him this year late. They got him. I think he might be a steal at running back. So I really like their running back room, and I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot. Jared Goff really loves his slot receiver. We saw it in L.A., him going to Cooper Kupp all the time, and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Goff had that connection in this preseason. So I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's going to be a young, promising slot receiver. Their defense, I don't, really, you're just going to look, maybe Trey Flowers has a comeback season because he really had a down year last year. Romeo Okwara, you hope that he has a bounce back season. Those guys, are their best rushers. And then, in the secondary, like you said, Jeff Okudah, he was like that can't miss cornerback prospect out of Ohio State last year, taken very early in the draft, top 10, and he struggled last year, but he's there. He has to be their guy, and if he's not, it's a big bust for them in the draft last year. So it's gonna be something to watch out of them this year, but very low expectations.
Yep.
Potentially number one pick.
Definitely.
Potentially number one pick. They might be the worst team in the league, and maybe they, draft a QB.
Yep, we'll see.
Get rid of Goff. So let's go to the NFC West now. We're gonna start with the division champs from last year, Seattle Seahawks. They were 12-4. They were knocked out by the Rams in the wild card round last year. They got a new offensive coordinator after firing Brian Schottenheimer. He was a long-term Jets offensive coordinator back in the glory days with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez. But they got a new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron from the Rams. He was their passing game coordinator last year. So now he steps up and goes to Seattle as the OC. And, just looking at – I didn't even realize that the Seahawks were 12-4 last year.
When you said they won the division, I completely forgot. I thought the Rams did. I really didn't know that Seattle
I
won
knew they won the division, and a lot of that was due. Do you remember Jared Goff was injured towards the end of the season, and John Wolford started at quarterback for the Rams?
He broke his thumb, right? His thumb.
Yeah, he broke his thumb. Yeah, and he played with it in the postseason.
He did. I remember. And they won.
I just want to talk about Jared Goff real quick. I like Jared Goff. I know we talked about it when the trade went down last year. I like Jared Goff. He's only 26 years old. And when he got traded for Matt Stafford, I was like, all right. I looked at Stafford's stats from his age, from his rookie to age 26 season, and they're very, very similar. I really think that Jared Goff is, I just think that McVay wanted an upgrade. I don't think it was a huge upgrade because Jared Goff did really well for him in that offense. I think Stafford is a little bit of an upgrade at this point in Stafford's career compared to Goff, but I think Goff is a fine quarterback, and I think he's going to have success in this league, whether it be with the Lions or whoever he goes to next. But I like Jared Goff. But all right, let's go back to Seattle now. Seattle, their defense stinks. We'll see. They added some guys this year. You have their depth chart up?
Yep.
Yeah, just read out their depth chart real quick for their defense.
The defense, they got LJ Collier and Benson Mayowa on the edges. So I don't even know those guys. And then in the interior, they have Poona Ford and Al Woods, linebackers Jordan Brooks, Bobby Wagner, Daryl Taylor. And then at corner, they got DJ Reed and Akella Witherspoon. And then safeties Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs.
Yeah, KJ Wright actually signed with the Raiders today. I don't know if you saw that, but he was there for about 10 years, KJ Wright. He was on the Super Bowl teams. But, yeah, I don't like their defense at all. I'm surprised that they won 12 games last year. I remember they got off to a crazy hot start. They ended up losing to the Giants, and then
that was like the game they felt like. I mean, they were falling apart before that, but they really fell off the wagon there.
But
the
it was
fact
like
that they won the division still.
But it was weird because like the beginning of the season, the defense was so bad. Their offense was killing it, torching every team. Russ was cooking. Middle of the season, their offense cooled down a little bit, was still doing really good. The defense really wasn't doing much. Towards the end of the season, their defense was pretty much keeping them in games because their offense wasn't doing anything. And then, it carried over into the postseason and they got knocked out right away. But yeah, just Jamal Adams, he's a beast. We all know that he's a safety, but he's more of like just an edge rusher, like sub linebacker more than safety. He's actually not a good coverage safety. He's one of the worst actually, but he's
run support. He's going to help in the run game and sack the quarterback.
And he's elite. He's an elite safety. Not going to take anything away from him, even though, didn't like what happened when he left New York. thought that should have been handled
Yeah,
better.
did you sell his helmet yet?
No, I still got it.
The worst purchase of your life?
If anybody wants this signed Jamal Adams helmet, I'm gonna list it on eBay after this episode.
There you go. Do
But yeah, highest bid gets it, starting at $1.
that. Someone
But
might offer you 50 cents.
50 cents, I might take it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this team, we know what Russ is. Russ is an awesome quarterback. Chris Carson, if he can stay healthy, he's a solid running back. They have one of the best young receivers in the game in DK. Lockett's a consistent guy. They have Dwayne Eskridge. He's the rookie. He's going to be in the slot for them. So this team ain't bad. It's not bad. The defense isn't too good. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. They also added Gerald Everett at tight end. And apparently him and Russ, according to training camp, have a really good connection going. So for any of you who haven't drafted yet, maybe look at Gerald Everett as a late round deep sleeper tight end.
Yeah, Gerald Everett. But this team just there's something about them that maybe it's that the Jets own their first round pick. I hope they go 0-17.
I know you don't like him, but Colin Cowherd thinks this team's gonna win the division.
Dude,
I don't see it. I don't see it either. I really
don't want to talk about Colin Cowherd on our podcast.
There's too much hype over this team. No, I agree with you. I think Seattle's so overrated. I don't see it.
Overrated.
I get Russell Wilson's a good quarterback, but like, come on, it's just too. That division is insane. That's probably the best division next to the AFC North. You know, it's gonna be crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
overhyped.
I like Russell Wilson. Like you said, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league, maybe top 3. And he has DK, he has Lockett. Chris Carson's a solid running back, but he's just, seems to always be injured and, he's not producing at full strength most of the time. But I just really don't like their defense, and they're playing against some really good offenses in that division. I just don't know if they're going to be able to handle all of it.
And good defenses.
Yeah.
Very good defenses. I mean, the 49ers and the Rams, we're going to get to them. Those are some good defenses. So
yeah, you're going to have to stop Aaron Donald and Nick Bosa a couple times this season. So
that's going to be – I'll tell you, it's going to be fun for everybody. You got to watch the NFC West games this year.
The NFC West is going to be crazy. But my expectations for them –
they could make the wild card. They could.
Wild card, like playoff expectations, right? But I won't be surprised if they stink. I'll say that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're last place in that.
Dude, if they're 0-17, the Jets have the number 1 pick.
They're not going 0-17.
I'm rooting against them every week. Every week.
All right.
I'm never gonna root for the Seahawks. Not once. Next year, then maybe I'll start rooting for them again.
All right, you want to go to the Rams?
Let's go to the Rams. They were 10-6 last year, second place. They were knocked out by the Packers in the divisional round. Like we said, they made the big trade for Stafford, but they also had some big losses on defense. They lost John Johnson to the Browns. They lost Troy Hill to the Browns, but they still have Aaron Donald. They still have Jalen Ramsey. They're still going to be a very good defense. They still got Sean McVay as their head coach, young offensive guru. This is McVay's 4th year.
Something like that. I think so.
But yeah, they added Stafford. I don't think it's a huge upgrade, but it is an upgrade at quarterback. McVay maybe wants to, can utilize Stafford's skill set more than he could utilize how he utilized Goff's. They lost Cam Akers for the season, but they did trade for Sony Michel. Solid wide receivers: Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell. They drafted this year, so high expectations for the Rams.
Yeah, and we know McVay loves to run the football, so that trade for Sony Michel made sense. I know why they did it. I don't think it's because there's a lack of confidence in Darrell Henderson. I just think that they needed another guy because you need 2 good running backs on your team. Jake Funk is a rookie, and I think they cut Xavier Jones. Is Xavier Jones there still, or they cut him? Because I know he was there also. Because I'm looking at their depth chart, and they have Sony Michel, Henderson, and Jake Funk. So I think
they did cut Xavier Jones, but I think they signed him to the practice squad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, we know McVay likes to run the football. So if this team's going to be successful, Michel and Henderson have to get that ball rolling. So
yeah, McVay loves running the ball, especially in the red zone.
But I think
that's where Todd Gurley was so valuable for them when he was, still playing at, in his prime, because he was just scoring so many red zone touchdowns, because McVay can get the ball down there through the end. But once they get into the red zone, they love running. And Darrell Henderson is a good back. Like you said, I don't think bringing in Michel takes anything away from Henderson. I just think it is more of that they need that second running back just in case of anything, because Henderson's banged up right now. He's questionable for week 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now that Sony Michel trade looks even better.
Yeah,
You
and
have
they even brought in Deshaun Jackson. A lot of people
please.
you hate
guy-
the Eagles. I know you hate the Eagles, but Deshaun Jackson,
He stinks. He
dude, every
stinks,
time
and I
he's
don't
on the
like
field,
him.
every time I see this guy on the field, he's scoring a 70-yard touchdown.
If he's on the field.
Yeah, but every time he's on the field, he doesn't have to be on the field more than 10 times in a game with this offense.
He's a clown.
Yeah, you just hate him because he had the what is it called? What is it? The Miracle at MetLife?
Dude, that was like a
Miracle at the
11 years
Meadowlands.
ago.
What was it?
Yeah, the Miracle of the Meadowlands.
Matt Dodge.
Yeah. Well, Tom Coughlin specifically told him to punt it out of bounds.
Yeah.
So bad. That's all right. Yeah, you know what? That actually might have taken an effect as to them winning the Super Bowl the next year.
You think so?
No,
Getting rid of
I'm
their
not
punter?
kidding. I watched America's game when the Giants won that Super Bowl, the second one, and Tom Coughlin at the beginning of the show talked about how when that happened, he sat in the dark for days. He was like really down. Next thing you know, next season they won the Super Bowl. So they took anger from not finishing the season, and they won the Super Bowl. So somewhat thank you to Deshaun Jackson for that punt return touchdown, because it might have helped a little bit.
All right. Well,
motivation.
Deshaun Jackson, every time he's on the field, he's scoring touchdowns over 40 yards.
Yeah, but don't draft him. Don't, please. If anybody's thinking about it, don't draft him. Don't even do it. Van Jefferson, that's who you draft if you want a deep sleeper, not Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, but the Rams, their offense is going to be good. Their defense is going to be good. High expectations. I don't think Super Bowl expectations. I think they have expectations to win the division.
Really?
And
wow.
I don't think they can go to the Super Bowl.
I do.
Yeah, you're giving them Super Bowl expectations.
I think getting Stafford is going to do it. Yeah, I think they could.
I don't know.
But
maybe
that Cam Akers injury could make a difference. I'm telling you right now, that could make a big difference. It could.
I like Darrell Henderson.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen enough sample size from him yet, so who knows?
Yeah, I know last year they did the Madden ratings. You know how they do like the Madden rating adjustments, and they like bring them to stuff, and like they did that last year for him. And the guys on Madden were like, "Dude, McVay needs to give you the ball more so we can get you up to an 80." So let's see. This year he's gonna have the chance to prove it. But yeah, they're gonna be good. You're saying Super Bowl expectations?
Yes.
Maybe but very high expectations.
That defense is still elite. That's why. You have an elite defense, anything's possible, especially a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be as good as last year, but dude, they have Aaron Donald and they have Jalen Ramsey. So
two of the best in the game.
Let's go to the Arizona Cardinals. They finished 8-8 last year. They missed the playoffs. They kind of had like a little collapse towards the end too. They had some games where they should have won, like especially they had a game against the Eagles late in the season, which they lost. That would have.
Oh no, they won that game. Never mind. Go ahead. I was thinking of the Bills game, but they won that game.
The Hail Murray.
Yeah, they won that. Yeah.
The Hail Murray. That was crazy.
Dude, I was actually that falling down backwards.
Dude, and DeAndre Hopkins had 5 bills on him.
DeAndre Hopkins has made some crazy catches in his career.
Dude, the craziest thing was that play happened, and literally like 30 seconds later, SpaceX had a launch, and I was down in Florida, and I saw the rocket go up, and it was crazy. It was like, dude, the Hail Murray followed by a SpaceX launch.
Yeah,
like that was a sick minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they had a little collapse towards the end last season, but they had some key additions. J.J. Watt. They brought in AJ Green for some depth. Isaiah Simmons was a beast last year. They drafted him early, but they brought in Zaven Collins. They drafted in the first round this year, and he's a stud. Like he's gonna be a stud for them on defense. So I really like their defense this year. I like their offense. I know you're not the biggest Kyler Murray fan, but I like him, dude. I think he's a game changer. He has the speed, he has the arm. Obviously, he has D-Hop to throw to, Christian Kirk, AJ Green now. They drafted Rondell Moore. I know you like him. Yep. He's a little Swiss Army knife. He can do it all. Their backfield isn't the best, but they have depth. They have James Conner. They have Chase Edmonds. They might even use Rondell Moore back there, and obviously Kyler Murray's a threat with his feet. So I really like the Cardinals this year. I have high expectations for them. I think they're a team that could be a surprise team and could even win the division and surprise people and win the division. Would you think that's a surprise if they win the division, or would you be like, oh, I saw that coming, maybe?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise because, dude, they improved their team. It's just I think Cliff Kingsbury and the coaching is gonna have a big impact on how they do. I'm
Yeah, I
not the
mean,
biggest Kingsbury fan. I don't think he's that crazy, but dude, they did it. They had a lot. I mean, getting JJ Watt alone is like a huge signing.
dude,
So,
J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones coming off the edge.
dude, they even have Marcus Golden. He had a good year with the Giants last year. He's a good depth piece, and he's probably gonna start at outside linebacker. So he's
Buda
not bad
Baker.
either.
Buda
Buda
Baker.
Baker. Dude,
You know,
they do have a good team. There's no
dude,
denying.
I like them. I like them a lot. Even Jordan Hicks as a backup linebacker because he lost his spot to Zayvon Collins. I
Yep.
was hoping that Jordan Hicks might get released and the Jets might sign him, but that didn't happen. I mean, why release a good player just because you have another one there, you know? So I like that the Cardinals kept him. But I have high expectations for them. I think they're going to be really good this year.
Yep.
I think it's time. And let's round it out with the last place team from last year, the San Francisco 49ers. They were 6-10. Biggest reason why they were 6-10 is because they had a lot of injured players that played key roles for them, like Nick Bosa and Jimmy G, just to name a couple. They drafted Trey Lance this year. They traded up to 3 to draft him. So they have their quarterback for the future, but he's not going to start the season. He's dealing with a little bit of a thumb injury right now, actually. So if he wasn't dealing with that, there was a chance that he was going to start week 1. He's definitely going to end up taking the job at some point this year, in my opinion. I don't know if it's the right decision. I like Jimmy G. He's a guy who took you to the Super Bowl. I would give Trey Lance a full year to develop behind him. But, if they feel he's ready, then he's ready. Kyle Shanahan, he has the respect in the league that, you can trust everything that he does and that it will work out. He's a really good offensive-minded head coach. They lost Saleh, though, their defensive coordinator. They lost Mike LaFleur, their passing game coordinator. Obviously, Saleh's the head coach of the Jets now, and he took LaFleur with him as the offensive coordinator. So it's going to be a little different there this year, coaching-wise. So we'll see what happens. I don't really expect too much of a difference. They have really good players. I have high expectations for them to bounce back this year. They're a team that, when healthy, are one of the best teams in the league. So I have expectations for them to compete for the division, make the playoffs.
Yep, definitely better than the Seattle Seahawks for sure. This team is probably the biggest disappointment last year. I mean, they came off of a Super Bowl. They had that Super Bowl slump. Obviously, injuries attributed to it, like you said. But yeah, this is a good team. Voice crack. George Kittle is their tight end, one of the best in the game. Receiving depth, I'm a little worried about, other than Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. They only have Mohamed Sanu behind them and Trent Sherfield. But they have a good offensive line. We know they like to run the football, so Raheem Mostert's going to get a lot of carries. Trey Sermon's going to be in there. Probably see a little JaMychal Hasty. He'll get a little bit involved. Have one of the best fullbacks in the game in Juszczyk. I know they like to use their fullback a lot. So this team's going to be good. And when you can run the football and keep the clock running, you're going to take control, and the defense will love it because you'll be killing that clock. And that's what this team's built around, is their defense. So definitely division expectations. Super Bowl expectations, they're on the fringe. It's a maybe. It's a maybe. I mean, they were there 2 years ago, but I don't know. The division gotten a lot harder, so that's the only reason I'd say it's a maybe.
Yeah, I really like their offensive line. I think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively with all their backs. They don't really like having one back. They like using all of them, and they have 3 guys that, are going to be solid backs for them with that offensive line. Like you said, though, I think they add someone eventually during the season at wide receiver because Samuel and Ayuk aren't enough, even though we both really like Ayuk this year as a breakout candidate at wide receiver. Fantasy, real life, whatever. I think he's going to be breakout in year 2.
I have him.
Yeah, there you go. Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, very good linebackers and edge rushers on defense. Good, solid secondary, really good safeties with Tart and Jimmy Ward. And, they're going to be a really good team. Like I said, I really like Kyle Shanahan. He's one of the best coaches in the league, in my opinion. And when these guys are fully healthy, they're one of the best teams in the league. So high expectations, division expectations, deep playoff run expectations. But I wouldn't be surprised, though, if they, get off to a slow start as guys get back into it after not playing for a while. And, if there's like quarterback controversy going on there. So we'll see what happens. But Jimmy G's been really good about all this stuff with Trey Lance. He's trying to take him under his wing and get him ready to, take his job, which is an awkward position for Jimmy G, but he gets it, I guess. So,
Yeah.
All right. And let's go into our last division in the
NFC least.
The NFC East, also known as the NFC least, because every team in the division last year, including the division champs, had a sub 500 record. Terrible.
Yep. Historically terrible.
Washington football team, first year as the Washington football team, won the division at 6-9 with quarterbacks Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins, Taylor Heineke. Name them all. They played for the football team, and they got it done because their defense was elite. They were a young, dominant defense led by Chase Young. And, they brought in Ryan Fitzmagic, whatever you want to call him. The guy hasn't made the postseason, so I don't know how magical he really is. All I remember from him is throwing 4 interceptions in Buffalo in week 17 to get the Jets, send the Jets home instead of the postseason.
How do you give a guy a nickname like that when he hasn't made the playoffs?
Dude, because ESPN and social media love this guy because he has a beard, because he wears stupid shoes.
He went to Harvard.
Suits.
He went to Harvard.
Yeah, he's a Harvard guy. But
I don't hate the guy. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate the guy, but I just don't understand the hype. Like, it's like when he got signed by Washington, everybody's saying, "Oh, watch out for the football team now. They got Ryan Fitzmagic." Like, what? And I don't understand. So much hype.
Yeah, and it's like when Tua took over, where they're like, "Why are you benching Ryan Fitzpatrick?" He's like, "Because Ryan Fitzpatrick never made the postseason. So if I start him, I'm not making the postseason."
Yep, we might be some of the few haters of. Well, we don't hate him, but we're the few. We just
don't get it. We just don't get the hype. Like, the hype isn't real with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, he's even if I don't have his stat pull up. Why don't you pull up his stats real quick? And what were his numbers like last year with Miami?
I'm gonna do it right now.
Nah, give you a second. Pull that up.
Yeah. You want his career stats?
No, just give me his stats last year.
All right, last year with Miami. He started 7 games. He went 4-3. He had a 68.5 completion percentage, threw for 2,000 yards, had 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, QBR 95.6.
All right, so that's good. Nothing like crazy, not elite numbers. Good numbers, nothing special. He threw for a bunch of yards because he loves chucking the ball deep.
Yeah, he's nothing special. He's average. He's an average quarterback,
and he's pushing 40.
Mm-hmm. I don't see it.
I really like their defense. I mean, how can't you?
Oh yeah, you can't dispute that.
Elite defense. Expectations. I have the same expectations for pretty much every team in this division. It's that not high expectations for any team in this division. Obviously, we're talking about football team now, but they could win the division, definitely. So they have the expectations where they're going to compete for a division.
Yep.
Especially in the NFC East.
Yep, and it's the defense that contribute to it. I mean, they have a sick defense. They're going to be getting sacks. They're going to be in the league leading sacks. So the offensive lines are going to really have to watch out for this team. They're going to be scary.
They do have weapons on offense, like Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel. They just signed. They do have weapons, so it's not like they're a bad offense, and it's not like they didn't deserve to win a division last year, because they did. Like, out of all the teams that were, out of the Giants and Cowboys and Eagles last year, I would definitely rather have seen Washington win the division last year. I felt like they deserved.
Even though the Giants beat them twice, that's beside the point.
Danny Dimes kills the I was gonna say their old name, but they killed the Washington football team.
Yeah.
But yeah, their defense: Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Darren Payne, Montez Sweat. That's ridiculous. All young beasts.
It might be. The people could say it might be the best. That might be the best D-line in the league.
Of all time?
In the league, not of all time.
It might be. Who knows? If if they can get another 2 years at like what they did last year.
And they got the rookie on linebacker, right? Davis or whatever.
Yeah, Jamin Davis.
Yeah. They signed William Jackson from Cincinnati. They still have Landon Collins. Kendall Fuller's good. Yeah. So yeah, this defense is nice. Very nice.
Yep. All right. So let's go into talking about your New York Giants. They finished 6-10 last year. Year 2 of Judge. Year 2 of Jason Garrett at offensive coordinator. Crucial year 3 for Danny Dimes. Solid defense. I'll give you that. They have a solid defense. Really good secondary. I'm not a huge fan of their defensive front. Leonard Williams coming off a career year. I don't think he can repeat that. But if he does, close to that, then that'll be solid for him. He's getting his money now. Blake Martinez is a very solid linebacker, great tackler, great, all around the field. He's huge for them in the middle of the field. He was a big addition last year. But yeah, crucial year 3 for Danny Dimes, crucial year for Dave Gettleman. Really, it's a crucial year for everyone on the Giants because if they don't win the division this year, there's going to be drastic changes in the franchise, and I think you'll agree with me.
Yep, there probably will be. Probably. I mean, I hate to say that they'll shut it down and rebuild over again, but I don't think they will. It'll probably be a partial rebuild. But listen, I don't want to think like that. I got to think that my team's going to be good, and I think they have a shot because the division's bad. We already talked about that when we talked about Washington. The division's bad. It's going to come down to the shoulders of Daniel Jones. I agree with you on that. I know you don't like him as a quarterback, but they put the pieces around him. They signed an elite receiver in Kenny Golladay. They got Kadarius Toney in the draft. Dude, the biggest thing that everybody can agree with, Saquon Barkley's back. Saquon Barkley, we know what he is. We know his potential. He could be one of the best in the game to do it. We just hope that his ACL holds up and there's no after effects from his injury. And that's what it comes down to. Daniel Jones, you said it. I mean, what else do you want to add to that?
I'm just looking over their depth chart right now, and like I said, I don't really like their defensive front, and now I'm looking at their depth chart after cuts and everything, and I really don't like their front seven at all. I like Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Leonard Williams coming off a career year.
What about Lorenzo Carter? Solid.
He's all right.
Ojulari, we don't know what he's going to be. X-Men, O'Shane Ximines. It's not bad. What do you
mean?
Tay
Crowder. I don't think it's a good front seven. I like Blake Martinez. I like Dexter Lawrence. I like Leonard Williams. But besides them, they have a lot of guys that just, are fine players. But I don't think it's a good front seven. But they have a really good back seven, so that will help them get away with that. Because if they put a lot of pressure on the receivers, they play man-to-man defense. With Adoree Jackson and James Bradbury, they're going to give themselves a little more time to get to the passer because they don't have those elite pass rushers. Even though they think Leonard Williams might be an elite pass rusher, I don't think he is. And I'll tell you what my biggest fear for the Giants this season is, and it's their offensive line, because I don't think it's a good offensive line at all. Andrew Thomas, he looked like he was improving towards the end of last year. They drafted him very early last year, left tackle. Hopefully he's not a bust because they really need a good tackle to protect Daniel Jones this year in the pocket. It's not a good offensive line. And when you're going up against the football team, when you're going up against the Cowboys, and even the Eagles have a solid front seven, you need a good offensive line. And especially with Daniel Jones at quarterback, you need to give him a clean pocket. My biggest fear for the Giants this season is their offensive line. But with that being said, they do have division expectations, just like every team in this division, because I'm not even going to say that this division is bad, right? Because
it'll be better. It'll definitely be better.
I'm not going to say like it's a bad division. Like I'm not going to say, they have division expectations just because they're all bad. I think they're all good football teams, but they're all very similar. And I think they all have a shot. And I think the Giants do have, a better shot than, the Eagles to say, but their expectations are, high this year just because it's a big year for Daniel Jones. It's a big year for Joe Judge and Jason Garrett. Huge year for Dave Gettleman.
I've said it over and over again. I'm going to say it again. I can't wait to see my boy Saquon Barkley play out in that field. It's going to be special to watch. He's going to have a sick comeback. You heard it here. He's going to be good. Saquon is coming for the league. He's going to be a beast.
He's an elite running back, but my biggest problem, but concerning the Giants, is that it's going to take him a few weeks to get up to speed. He didn't play in the preseason. He's only started practicing a couple weeks. So he's not going to get a lot of touches early on in the season. So hopefully that he's only playing when they really need him on the field, and he works his way back to being that workhorse, because when he was at full strength, that dude never left the field, which he should never leave the field.
Yeah, and I don't trust Devontae Booker, so I'm going to be honest with you. You agree with me right now. Daniel Jones has to win those early games.
And that's it. It's going to be on Daniel Jones. And, I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones supporter just because he has a huge turnover issue, which is just not a good thing for young quarterbacks, and it just hasn't really improved over his first 2 years. And who knows, though? Maybe he has that Josh Allen third year that people keep saying he might. He could be a breakout guy, and I'm not going to be surprised because he does have talent. He has good speed. He's very mobile, and he throws a good deep ball. You said it, he throws the best deep ball in the league statistically, right?
So apparently, statistics say he does.
Yeah. All right. So you can't deny the stats.
But yeah,
Can't deny the facts.
I don't know if it's been coined yet, but I want to coin them at their secondary as the New York Pass Defense, the NYPD. I think it's pretty good. It
Yeah.
might have been coined already, though. I feel like that definitely had to have been used already, but I don't know. But
Uh,
also they have the 7th easiest schedule in the league, so that'll help them. Probably just because of their division. That's going off the records last year, but that should help them a little bit. They play the AFC West this year, so that's a little scary, but we'll see.
yeah, but
And
all
they have
right, so
back-to-back. They have back-to-back Monday night games in Kansas City and then in Tampa. So that's going to be a scary 2 weeks for them. So we'll see where they're at that point. Because if
they win one of those,
that's what I'm saying.
they're
That'd
winning
be
the
insane.
division.
If they win one of those, then they better win the division. Yes, that would be pretty nuts. Because dude, that's gonna be crazy. It's
All right,
pretty
enough
much
with
a
the
rematch.
Giants. Enough of the Giants. Enough of the Giants. Let's talk about
Please, when we
America's
talk about the
team.
Jets tomorrow, it's gonna be an hour.
Let's talk about America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry
America's
Jones
team?
wants the Super Bowl.
Terrible.
What? They're not America's team?
Yeah, maybe in the 90s, not anymore.
They're America's team. That's what they are. Jerry Jones, baby. Obviously they were 6-10 last year. Disappointing year. They lost Dak most of the season. They lost him against the Giants. Logan Ryan snapped his ankle in half.
It was not intentional.
No, it wasn't intentional. It was just a freak scary injury, and it cost the Cowboys their season because they had high expectations last year. Even though they got off to a terrible start defensively, and that never got better. Their defense was so bad last year, but they brought in Dan Quinn, who was let go from the Falcons. So the defense should be better. They drafted Micah Parsons in the first round this year, so the defense definitely should be better than last year. Don't know if it's going to be a good defense or even an average defense. Probably won't be. Probably going to need a year or two to develop into Quinn's system, but Quinn was a very good defensive coordinator with Seattle when they had the Legion of Boom. So who knows? Maybe Quinn is just better at being a defensive coordinator than head coach. That's optimistic for the Cowboys. If they can be, a top 15 defense with Dak healthy this year, with CeeDee Lamb, with Amari Cooper, with Zeke. Also, last year, their offensive line, pretty much everyone on the offensive line was injured at some point, either for weeks or for the season. So now they're fully healthy on offensive line, which, if you think about the Cowboys from recent years, it's been their offensive line, it's been their running game, it's been Dak. Dak, Zeke, and their offensive line. So hopefully that they can get back to that this year, because if they do, they're going to have one of the best offenses in the NFL. Their defense, though, that's the biggest concern. Obviously, very bad defense last year. Doesn't look like they're going to have a good defense this year. If they do have a good defense, though, they have high expectations, in my opinion, just because the talent that they have offensively, and they do have some guys defensively. Like I said, Micah Parsons, the Marcus Lawrence, Leighton Vander Esch.
It's their secondary that's the worry.
Yeah, their secondary not good. They have Trevon Diggs, second-year guy out of Alabama. They took him. I think they took him in the first round last year. I think he was a first-round guy. But yeah, in recent years they lost Byron Jones. They just lost Awuzie this all season, but they got Anthony Brown as their second corner, and then they got Jordan Lewis as their nickelback. Keanu O'Neal is going to be their starting middle linebacker. Jalen Smith is not going to start linebacker this year, which is, a little bit of a shock because Jalen Smith had a lot of hope coming out of Notre Dame, but he's really just hasn't been, that effective. Their edge is pretty good. I like both of their edge rushers. I like DeMarcus Lawrence. I like Randy Gregory. Up the middle, they can't stop the run. That was their biggest problem last year. They just got exposed in the running game. They got exposed by the Browns.
The Ravens put up like 250 on them, right?
By the Browns, by the Ravens.
Amount.
The Giants, even Gallman ran for over 100 against them. Yeah. Their problem is their defense, and that's pretty much it. I mean, if they can fix their defense, they have an elite offense. But Dak does have a little bit of some injury concerns going into the season. He had the shoulder sprain, but he's ready to go. Everyone in the Cowboys organization, all the coaches, Mike McCarthy has said he's ready to go. No setbacks or anything. He's good to go. So I don't think that shoulder injury is going to be anything of a concern going forward. All right, let's hear what you got on the Cowboys. I know you hate them.
Of course I hate the Cowboys. That's my rival. AFC, what's going on for them? I mean, what did I say? AFC? What am I doing? Their strength of schedule, they actually have the second easiest in the entire league. So that'll be good for them. But yeah, no, I agree.
Wait, you have their schedule pulled up or no?
No. Why? You want me
because don't they have like the easiest last 2 months of the season?
thought that was doesn't the football team play like a bunch
They
of
have a weird schedule of football team. They have like only divisional games
yeah,
like the
I know.
last. It's
Weird.
stupid. It's
Very
stupid. I don't
I
like it.
don't like it because it's yeah, they're playing like their most meaningful games in the last few games of the season. Yeah, I mean, all right, I got the Cowboys pulled up. I'll go for it. So they got the Bucks, we know that. Then they got to go to LA for the Chargers, so that should be a tough game. Then they're at home against Philly, home against Carolina, home against New York, so they have a 3-game home streak. Then they got to go to New England, Minnesota, then they come back host Denver and Atlanta. Then they got to go KC, that'll be tough. Then they host Vegas. Then they have 3 straight away against New Orleans. And then, yeah, they have 3 straight division games against Washington, the Giants, and the football team. So that's going to be right there, 3
Washington,
games.
the Giants, and the football team.
Yeah, same thing. And then they host Arizona, and then they finish against Philly. So, yeah, their last 5 games, 4 of those are division games.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, the Cowboys are America's team, so they're always going in with high expectations. I think they have a good shot at the division this year, but I think everyone knows it all depends on their defense. If their defense is bad again, it's just going to be really difficult for Dak and that offense, even though they're loaded, to put up 30 plus points every week. Because NFL defenses aren't bad. Just it's not easy to put up 30 points a week.
And they're playing the football team's defense. Those games are gonna be good. Watching the really good defense against a really good offense. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Yep. So let's bring it to last year's last place team, the Philadelphia Eagles. They were 4-11-1. Last place. Doug Peterson fired. Nick Sirianni, welcome, new head coach. He previously was the offensive coordinator for Frank Wright in Indy for the past 3 seasons. But I don't know. When I think of the Eagles, I just think they're a weird team. A weird team. I have no idea what they're going to be this year. They could be good. They could compete for the division. They could be really bad and be one of the worst teams in the league. They have a weird quarterback situation going on now. They got Jalen Hurts, who's going to start the season at quarterback, but they just traded for Gardner Minshew. They like Joe Flacco. They were really hesitant on naming Hurts the quarterback when everyone thought that it was his team to lose. He might be a franchise guy. So they have a really weird quarterback situation going on. Their defense, nothing special. Their offense, besides, Miles Sanders, and they just drafted the Heisman, Devonta Smith, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. They really don't have that much. So we all know that they had really bad history drafting wide receivers. So we'll see what happens with the Heisman Smith, if he's going to, break out and be that guy that they need. But Jalen Reagor was the guy that they drafted last year in the first round. He didn't really play much, but he's having a really good preseason. So who knows what's going to happen? They're a team that I have really mixed feelings about. I don't think they're going to be good.
You're on the receivers. Listen to this. They could have had DK Metcalf and Justin Jefferson as their wide receivers.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Put that in perspective right now.
And Devonta Smith.
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, they'd have one of the best receiving cores. They'd be with the Cowboys talks, but instead they took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor, which I'm not gonna hate on Reagor. I'll hate more on Arcega-Whiteside because he hasn't done anything. So I mean, Reagor, at least he still has a chance to prove himself this year. But I mean, the fact that they could have DK and Justin Jefferson as their receivers is just nuts.
Yeah, I know. And they have a really good defensive front: Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat. Secondary stinks. They really don't have much talent back there. Darius Slay, he's good, but besides him, there's not a lot of talent back there. Linebackers is also weak area in their defense.
Yeah.
But offensively, their offensive line, specifically the right side of offensive line, is very strong with Kelsey Brooks and Lane Johnson. I don't know what they're going to be this year. They're a weird team, and I'm not going to be surprised if they're good. I'm not going to be surprised if they stink. That's going into this season. I have the expectations I have from them. Yeah, they could compete for the division. What do I think's going to happen? I don't really know.
They have the easiest schedule according to strength of schedule.
They have the easiest schedule.
I want to pull up their schedule. I want to see what they got. I gotta see what they got.
The easiest schedule. They have pretty much everyone that everyone else has in the division. So,
yeah.
But you have anything else to add on the Eagles?
Not really. I mean, big year for Jalen Hurts. This is his time to step up and be the next Eagles quarterback.
Yeah,
so
and we're gonna go through predictions and stuff like that, but I just think
listen to this. They end their season against Washington, New York, Washington, Dallas. So they're another one. It was 4 straight division games to end the year. I mean, it's crazy.
That's gonna be intense. The last month of the season is gonna be intense.
And before that is their bye week, and before that they have the Jets and the Giants. So it's crazy. They're
Yeah.
gonna be in the Northeast the entire time because they end at home against Dallas, so they're not traveling anywhere come
Yeah.
December. That's pretty nuts.
All right. Well, before we wrap this up, why don't you guys just leave in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube what like expectations you have for the NFC teams that we went through. We're gonna have our next episode coming out tomorrow. It's going to be AFC edition. Today was obviously NFC edition. And then next week we're gonna have a couple episodes coming out too. We got a lot of content coming up. Beginning of next week, we're gonna drop our NFL 2021 season prediction video, podcast, and YouTube video. And then we're gonna right before on next Thursday, we're gonna give you our Week 1 preview. We're gonna go through every game, give you our picks, give you our analysis of each game, and football season's here.
Yep, let's go.
All right. Well, just if you haven't yet, please just hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, and drop comments below and give us your feedback. We love to hear from you. But that's a wrap. Thanks for listening to the Check Down with Fox and Larry.
Yep, have a good one, everyone.
All right. Take it easy, everyone.